I want to get right into the 23 habits of wealthy retirees. And by wealthy, though, I want to make sure that we agree on what that means, because you could be wealthy financially and have all the money that you need. But if you ignore these other three types of wealth, then we're going to be miserable. Have you ever heard of the guy who is really, he's got all the money that he needs, but nobody likes him, he doesn't have any real friends, and he's got horrible family life, and he neglected his health? Is that real, true wealth? So the 23 habits that we're going to go over are going to fall into 4 categories of wealth, and it's going to look something like this. The first category is the one that we're thinking of, which is financial. That's financial wealth, money wealth. The next one that we have to think about is that relationship wealth, and also health and spiritual. And all 4 of these are important to living that ideal retirement. So let's get into it. The first category we're going to cover is the financial. So we'll focus on the money side and just some of the habits that we see wealthy financial people do in retirement. And number 1 is hold cash, because having cash in your portfolio really fits into that idea of the conservative bucket, which you've seen before. And it's that idea of having the 3-bucket strategy here. Ooh, those are big buckets, but having the conservative bucket and having enough to weather downturns if needed. It really gives us options when the markets aren't cooperating, and it gives us flexibility. And the question to answer is, what's the right amount to have in cash for you? And the answer is, it really depends on your income plan and your investment plan and how they're working together. Because you don't want too much in cash, because it is getting eaten away by inflation every year. We know that. But you also don't want too little, where you're going to be forced to sell investments at a loss to fund your living expenses. A common rule of thumb, which I don't always agree with, but what you hear out there sometimes is having, it depends, but having maybe 6 months, 1 year, or maybe 2 years worth of expenses if it fits in your plan. But really, the most important thing is make sure you run the numbers of your own financial plan, your own retirement plan, and just make sure what the right cash amount is. Some people can afford to have more cash than others, and some can't. But on to the second habit, and what wealthy retirees do, the financially wealthy ones do, they buy back their time. Because when you're in your 50s, your 60s, 70s, or 80s, you realize that time does not equal money. And really, time is a lot more valuable than money. Your money can actually make money while it's sitting there in the investments, but you can't make more time, right? So a lot of happy retirees, wealthy retirees, the ones we see, they'll spend money on things that they don't want to do anymore, so that they can enjoy their time doing the things that they actually do want to do. You know, they might hire that mowing service, even if they've mowed their own lawn for the last 30 years, or they might hire some other home maintenance people or someone to do projects or fixes, even though they know how to do it, but maybe they don't want to spend their weekend doing it. Or they might partner with a wealth management firm and make sure that they're doing everything that they should be, and they're not making any mistakes or just missing anything. The next habit is they don't buy what they can't afford. The way that financially wealthy people got that way is not by spending their money on anything that came in their purview, right? They didn't spend on things that they didn't really need. The next is they avoid financing and bad debt. So they may have debt on real estate or other assets that pay them a positive cash flow that's actually paying them money, but they're less likely to go into debt on things like liabilities, like maybe cars or boats or things like that. They would just pay cash for those. The next thing is they diversify. You know, this one's a no-brainer. As long as you're diversifying among the different asset classes that we need in order to handle the 4 economic seasons. And let me make this smaller this time. There's 4 economic seasons: higher than expected inflation or deflation, or higher than expected economic return, or lower than expected economics. So making sure you have asset classes in each one of those is important. Now, you might hear some billionaires and investors recommend that they got rich by not diversifying and really focusing all eggs in one basket or a few baskets. But really, when you think about it, we're not billionaire investors. Our goal is to live off our assets in a comfortable way and just be prepared for the various economic seasons that we were just talking about. And really, we got to be prepared for both the good case scenario and then also the worst case scenario. So that's when diversification can really help a plan. The last habit that we see in this category of financial wealth is the habit that we see is they give. Now, not every financially wealthy person does give, but the ones who do are the ones that we believe and can see are more happy, and they're more content, and they're more grateful for what they have. They're generous with their money and they're generous with their time. But here's the thing, they're still thinking about their money and their time as investments. They're not just giving willy-nilly to anything that comes along. They look at it as important capital, and they're investing it in other people, or they're investing it in other causes that are really improving the world and improving people's lives. Now we're moving on to the next category of wealth, which is the relationship wealth. This is one of the most important areas to a fulfilled life. It's really just sharing life with our friends and with our family. That's really just how we were designed. It's how we're made to be in relationships. So on to the first habit. The first thing that wealthy retirees do is they don't hold grudges, right? They realize that life's too short to hold grudges as they get older. And they either reconcile, or if that's not possible, then they move on and they forgive the person, and then they just keep moving on, and they just don't dwell on it. The only thing that holding grudges does is really just make your life worse. If that's ever happened to you, just to paraphrase that I think Nelson Mandela quote, holding grudges is like drinking poison and then hoping that it'll kill your enemies. So forgiveness is really the only antidote here. And we just practiced this the other week with my 8-year-old. She's got glasses. She's had glasses since she was 3. And which I always think is so cute when you see little kids with glasses. But she was getting teased on the playground, and it just breaks your heart as a parent, when your kids come home and tell you about those things. But we talked about it that night, and we ended up forgiving the person, the other boy who did this, and then actually praying for him. And we just, we wish we could pray and change other people's and their ways and things like that. It doesn't always work that way, but it definitely changed us and my daughter and the way that we were feeling that evening. So just don't hold grudges. Now, the next habit is they listen more than they speak when we're thinking about relationships, right? They listen because they're curious. They ask questions in relationships because they're curious about the other person. My dad actually wrote a book about his life recently when some of the stories were when he was little. And one of those stories was when he was little, about 7 years old, and he noticed when his dad was with his buddies after work, and they were sitting on the front stoop of their apartment, south side of Chicago, and they were just hanging out after the factory work. And my dad would see him with his friends, and the friends would always talk more than what my grandpa wouldn't say as many words as what everybody else was saying. So my dad at the time, who was 7, asked him why. And his dad said, well, I already know what I'm going to say, but I don't know what they're going to say. My dad also noticed that those buddies often came to his dad, my grandpa, for advice when they needed it. And it was just something that that stuck with him over the years. I really think that listening can be one of those secrets to really getting people to like you, as you've probably learned as well. And the next thing that might go along with this is that idea of relationship wealthy people is that they're humble, right? They give credit to others when something good is accomplished, and then they take the blame when things don't always work out. There's a quote that I like related to this, which is just humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's just thinking of yourself less. So on to the next one, the next habit is they really make the effort in relationships, because we sometimes get into this mindset that, hey, if they want to talk, then they'll call me. Now, maybe it's just me that feels this way, but I need to remind myself, if there are relationships that I want to grow, I need to make the effort, I need to reach out, and I need to try to do things to help that relationship grow. So we went over the habits in 2 categories so far, and we have 2 left. But before I continue, I just want to hear from you and see if this video is helpful. Do you like this kind of video? If you do, just click the like button. That'll let me know, or leave a comment so that I know, and that's just a great help. So I can keep making videos that you want to see the most. So the next category that we're looking at now is health down there. And the habits here, I'll probably fly through these ones a little bit faster, but a few of the habits combined are reading, learning, curiosity, and then also just challenging ourselves. Because sometimes we think of retirement as this, it's like we should have no care in the world, and it's a stress-free zone, and there's no more work, and it's just going to be fancy-free. But challenging yourself and your mental faculties is really important to keeping that brain health. And as we're thinking about health here, there's two parts. It's the brain health and then there's the body health. So those things that I just mentioned, reading and learning and curiosity, that's really the brain health. And the other thing to think about here with brain health is that idea of writing, whether it's writing our goals or just writing our thoughts. And really, here's a 5-minute challenge for you this week. Let's see if we could do it for 5 days, is at the end of the day, write down the answer to this question. And the question is, what made today better than yesterday? For instance, you watched a great video by Dave Zoller. That could make your day better. But write down what really made the day better. And it could be small things. It could be lunch with a friend. It could be riding your bike. It could be whatever it is, write down something. The second thing to write down then is what could make tomorrow better than today? So really just make it up. Those two questions are going to promote this sense of forward progress in your life. And we get forward progress through work and career and accomplishing these goals. But in retirement, we still want to have that forward progress. And it's just going to help make sure that our future continues to get better and better. Now, it's not foolproof, but if you're thinking about what could make your tomorrow great, and then you're actually focusing on that and doing it, that's going to turn your great days into weeks and then into months, into years. The next habit is something that is really one of the most important abilities I think that we have as humans. And if we practice it, it has the ability to improve almost every area of life. And that is gratefulness. Being thankful for what we have, no matter how small, can really improve that mental well-being that we have. Even in difficult times, we still are likely to have some things we could be thankful for. Whether it's things like I can hear these words right now, or I can see the video on the screen right now, or I can move my body, right? I tend to make these things, or I tend to take these things for granted every day, but getting a reminder that really each day, think about things to be thankful for and some just good things in our life and things that, really we've got no control over or we have nothing to do with. We didn't create our ears. You can't make yourself see or hear, but whatever it might be, these are real gifts we just want to recognize. So we're still in the health category here. We just talked about brain health, and now we're going to talk about body health. So the habits of healthy, wealthy retirees, what they do, one of the things is they play, right? We need to have fun and enjoy life. It could be pickleball. It could be just having fun with friends, doing something relational and fun, biking, or, a lot of the stuff of play is with friends and, hiking or tennis or swimming or whatever it might be. We know how to play. It might have been a while, but do something that is considered play that's fun, that you enjoy. And try to remember what you were doing when you were a teenager or younger even, or in your 20s. What were the hobbies that you did? Take those up again. Just explore those and have fun. And the nice thing about play is it also makes us move much of the time. So another habit, though, to think about is just that idea or the action of taking long walks. And you've probably heard the studies detailing all these benefits of taking long walks. So I won't get into all of them, but there are many, many benefits. And then another habit of healthy, wealthy people is that they lift heavy things. So it's not just cardio and walking and things like that, but they also do some form of strength training to prevent osteoporosis and frailty. Now, you may be a ways off from that, but it's never too late to start doing this. And there's many other benefits to actually lifting heavy things. And one tip here is that safety really becomes a priority, right? As you get into your 60s and 70s or more, but you can still lift heavy. And there's this book, not lift heavy, but you can lift heavy things. There's this book called Body by Science by Doug McGuff. And I think it's chapter 11 that's all focused on just seniors and this idea. And his advice is to use weights, but less weight and just make it super slow movements. And his studies show that muscle is built, bone is strengthened, almost even better than what you're used to seeing maybe in the gym of, fast, whatever weightlifting things that they do. So slow movements, Body by Science, interesting book if you want to check that out. Now, the last category of wealthy people is this spiritual or faith wealth. And I'm not sure where you are on the faith journey. So this may only be helpful to a few of you, but it's really a crucial part to so many people's lives. And the first habit here is more of a reminder. And it's that idea that you are part of something bigger than just yourself. And you can actually make an impact no matter how small it may seem. And when we think about making an impact on someone or some cause or something like that, there's that quote that comes to mind, which is, to the world, you may be just one person, but to one person, you may just be the world. So this idea of making small improvements to this big place, if we can really, I see it like this sometimes, if we've got enough people doing these little things to make improvements, in different areas of life, different causes that are important to you, we might actually see some sort of change. So this kind of aligns with that habit of generosity, right? You don't have to have faith to be generous, but some of the most generous retirees I know, they've got the strong relationship with God, and they look to serve and help other people too. And really, they seem to be some of the happiest people that I know. The next habit, though, to think about and practice is that it's a practice of hope. It's easy to just get so discouraged with everything that's happening in the world, or just be anxious about what's going to happen tomorrow. We often lose sight of the positive things that are happening all around us. When it comes to our immediate surrounding life, like the previous habit of knowing that the future is bigger than our past, that's such an important concept in positive psychology, just for ourselves. And it's important right now that you're making progress in each one of your days and weeks and months by doing that. But even beyond that, having faith helps. And then the next habit is reading the Bible or reading your holy text, whatever it might be. I didn't realize really until my mid-30s how practical and applicable the Bible is to just everyday life. When I was younger, I was thinking it was more about just rules and commands, which it is, but the wisdom inside it to improve your life and business is just so vast. So that daily habit of reading the Bible or reading your holy text is a great habit to have. And then the next habit is prayer. We've got this incredible gift to be able to connect with God and get aligned with His purpose for our life, which is so important in retirement, because we are doing the shift from purpose and the purpose from our career and what we're doing to this new focus of no longer career, but now we have this new purpose that we have to fulfill and continue to live out. Prayer can be really a great process, or a great help in that discovery process, along with all of the other benefits. I hope you like this video. It's a little bit different than the others. If you did, please give it a like and a comment below. And if you like retirement-focused content, then this is the channel to subscribe to. If you haven't yet, don't miss the upcoming video that's about 3 lies that we tell ourselves that actually stop us from retiring, or help us stop us from living that ideal retirement. So hopefully I'll see you in that video. Take care.